Claudia Blood's early introduction to Dungeons and Dragons, combined with her training as a scientist and a side trip into the world of IT, set her up to become an award-winning author of science fiction and fantasy. Claudia, take it away.
Hi all, how are you guys doing? Okay, so I decided to read from Book of Secrets, and I picked the opening scene because it is one of my favorite scenes in the whole entire book. And so, excuse me while I put my glasses on so I can see. Okay, so Book of Secrets. Okay. Prologue, Joshua. 1 a.m., August 11th, 2016, Earth before the merge. Joshua Lighthouse's plan was simple. Sneak out of the window, climb to the roof, and watch the meteor shower. Nothing was going to stop him. Not even the strange, heavy feeling which still hung in the air. The feeling of a storm coming. The forecast had been clear skies, but he'd been unable to shake the feeling that something was coming, that something was wrong. Every year, the Perseid meteor shower came close to his birthday. This year, the peak fell on his 12th birthday, and the peak of the meteor shower would happen at his birth hour, and there was even going to be an outburst, double the normal amount of meteors. He tightened his hand around the backpack's handle hidden under his Star Wars bedsheet. The details of his room were lost in the darkness. His new star projection clock didn't project enough light to chase away the dark shadows. Instead, it filled his room with a steady clicking, like the mandibles of a giant ant. The digits on the clock took about a century to flip to 2 a.m. It was time. He pulled out the remote control from the side pocket of his bag. A button turned on the camera on his spybot, hidden on the top of his parents' wardrobe. The lever made the spybot crawl out from behind the discarded baseball caps, cups, and change. The camera focused on his parents in their king-size bed. His father's mouth opened wide, his arms flung out with one touching the nightstand and the other over part of his mom's pillow. His mom was hidden under the quilt with just the tips of her dark hair sticking out. Her arm hung over the side and twitched in time with father's snoring. His parents were asleep. The remote snapped back in place in his bag. He kicked off the covers. His toes sunk into the plush carpet as he crept across the room to open the window. The screen already sat hidden behind his dresser. He scanned his neighborhood. The streetlights stood silent guard between the dark houses. He pulled out the second remote and sent Betty, his other little robot, from her hiding spot on the roof. She rolled to the edge and lowered the rope already around the chimney. It slithered down next to his window. The climb took a moment. From his vantage point on the roof, the neighborhood spread out beneath him. The neighbor's black lab Petey lifted his head from his paws, snorted, and curled back up in his kennel. Joshua pulled up the rope, tucked it and the robot back in their hiding place. 15 steps brought him to the faint chalk X, which marked the spot where the best view would be. In that spot, the chimney would block the light from downtown Rochester, and a gap in the trees would give him a wide view of the sky. He sat on the spot and unpacked. Snacks? Check. Binoculars around his neck? Check. A blanket for his legs to ward off the chill? Check. Then he settled back on the roof. The trees in the backyard swayed gently in the slight breeze. The roof was rough and warm on his back. The faint smell of backyard fire hung in the air. His eyes adjusted. The stars twinkled in swaths in the sky, looking like spilt salt on his mom's black granite countertop. Lines traced the first passing meteors. Only the faint hum of mosquitoes and the flutter of a bat broke the quiet. The Perseid meteor shower would go on for an hour. His parents were sound asleep, so they'd never miss him. He'd be able to watch the whole thing. Bong, bong. The deep, distant note of a gong tolled. He flinched and covered his ears, but it made no difference to the loudness of the noise. The gong had a deeper tone than the bells of Assisi Heights up the hill. When the bells of Franciscan sisters rang, his chest lightened. No, this was something different. That seed of worry that had been nagging him sprouted. He tucked his blanket in his backpack and stood, walking towards the chimney, and braced his shoulder against it. His binoculars out, he scanned the horizon. Nothing seemed amiss. The neighborhood lay quiet and dark. Too quiet. The silence so loud it echoed in his ears. The winds hid, the animals waited, but for what? To the south, the pink and blue lights of downtown Rochester glowed. The feeling of storm approaching deepened, and his bones responded with an ache. He did a full circle scan, but saw nothing but cloudless, star-speckled sky. Was he imagining it? His eyes were drawn back to downtown. The stars behind the buildings disappeared. Not blocked by clouds, but gone, as if they'd been drawn on an etch-a-sketch that a kid had shaken. The pit of his stomach gave another harder twist. The dark splotches swarmed the Mayo building, army ants overrunning its prey. The darkness faded and left a gaping hole in the skyline. The building was gone. The hairs in his body stood up as one. His heart drummed, and he grabbed the chimney. The stone cut into his fingers. The Plummer building floated up in the air. Water and sparks trailed after it. What was he seeing? It made no sense. He pinched himself, and the sharp pain made even less sense. He wasn't dreaming, but how could this be real? Boom! The roof shook. His foot slipped from under him, and only his hold on the chimney kept him upright. His heart skipped, and he turned towards the sound. A stone tower crushed the Miller's house next door, leaving Petey howling in his backyard kennel. Black spots swarmed the kennel fence, and it disappeared. Petey tucked his tail and ran to the front of the house, yipping and whimpering. From across the street, Mrs. Lake banged open her door. Petey huddled at her bare feet, hiding his head under her checkered robe. She gaped at the new building, mouth wide, hand to her chest. She seemed ready to faint. At the bottom of her porch stairs, a single blue light grew until it looked like a swarm of fireflies. When they fizzled out, a skinny woman with a green feathered body and long black feathering crest from her head appeared. Her feathers fluffed up, making her seem bigger. Her long wailing cry broke the silence. That was the beginning of Book of Secrets, and I didn't start my timer, so I don't actually know where I am, but I wanted to encourage you guys to go ahead and fill out the survey, because if you do, you will be put in to win a copy of Marked, one of the short stories that I have going on, and it's the author's copy, so it'll be autographed and sent to you. So thank you very much for having me. I very much enjoyed it, and have a great day.